Phantoms in the Wire. 8 obscure cybercrime sagas told in full, the motives, the methods, the technical innards, and the messy human fallout that history books usually skip. 1. The Sewage Saboteur of Maroochy Shire, Sunshine Coast, Queensland, January-April 2000. Backstory: Paradise on New Plumbing. In the late 1990s, the sleepy Australian tourist strip north of Brisbane was booming. Maroochy Shire Council approved golf resorts, luxury condos, and, critically, a spanking new fully automated wastewater network able to shuttle effluent from 20 dispersed pump stations to a central treatment plant. Instead of copper landlines, the engineers chose a radio frequency SCADA mesh. Each pump station carried a Motorola RNet 9600 transceiver, talking 430 MHz packets to the control room 25 kilometers away. The vendor touted the system as set and forget. The insider turns rogue. Enter Vitek Bowden, 49, a former avionics technician who had overseen the installation on contract. When his bid for a permanent water services job was rejected, his attitude worried HR, supervisors said. Bowden collected a trove of laptop configuration files, 2 proprietary handheld radios, and quit. He soon accepted a lower pay position at an equipment distributor, but resentment festered. The attack, starting 26th of March 2000 pre-dawn, Pump Station 4 spontaneously switched to manual reverse. Sewage flowed the wrong way, back-pressuring upstream pipes. The control room flipped it to normal. 20 minutes later, it reversed again. Engineers blamed moisture in a PLC relay. By 3rd April, a dozen similar reversals struck 4 more stations. Each time a slim crescent of raw sludge surfaced in drains, killing brackish mangroves and horrifying early morning joggers. SCADA logs showed legitimate commands authenticated with the master station ID. Only radio forensics, an inline spectrum analyzer wedged into the antenna feed, caught out-of-band bursts just before each incident. Bowden, parked in a white Toyota next to cane fields, replayed pump control packets, his laptop spoofing both sender address and encryption seed. The DES keys shipped in plaintext test mode and were never rotated. The chase and arrest detectives joined water utility engineers in an unmarked ute, triangulating RF strength. They homed in on a toy storage dock at Nambour and caught Bowden mid-packet injection, the stench of spilled sewage wafted from creeks a kilometer away. In his passenger seat, a Motorola, a GPS, and a file called Maroochy OPS, the DBF. Aftermath and lessons: Queensland District Court handed Bowden 18 months imprisonment. The first Australian conviction for networked control system hacking. The Environmental Protection Agency tallied 816,000 liters of raw waste released. Global water utilities abruptly audited their telemetry channels. The American Waterworks Association circulated the Bowden case in a 2002 white paper, quietly upgrading thousands of 1980s-era PLC radios from test DES to AES 128. 2. Operation Get Rich Quick: Jensen and Kate and the Early Rent-A-Botnet, Downey, California, January 2004, November 2005. Rise of a teenage entrepreneur. 19-year-old Jensen James Ancheta preferred IRC chat rooms to college applications. Hanging in RxBot on FNet, he grabbed source code for an already prolific worm. RxBot, a C++ program that combined keylogging, DDoS scripts, and download and execute capability controlled via IRC. Most script kiddies used RxBot to vandalize school networks. Ancheta saw enterprise potential. Building the army. From his bedroom, he modified the worm to exploit 3 still unpatched Windows holes: LSAS overflow, MS040111, the Dameware remote desktop backdoor, and a flawed ASN.1 parser in XPSP1's Kerberos.dll. He scanned IP ranges belonging to public libraries, convalescent hospitals, and even Defense Logistics Agency subnets whose patch cycles lagged. Infection peaked at 450,000 hosts, including 25 Navy workstations at NAS Point Mugu. Monetizing malware, Ancheta created the handle Bots for Sale. For $150, he would rent to own a block of 10,000 zombies for 8 hours, enough to push 1 million spam mails or 50 megabit secs of UDP flood. Payment options: eGold, Western Union, or FedEx Cash. He upsold refresh insurance. If disinfection sank capacity below 90%, he reinfected nodes free. Logs later showed corporate spammers in Russia and Florida buying consecutive weekends for pump-and-dump penny stock runs. The fall FBI cyber agents traced spam headers to his command IRC running on an Indonesian shell account. Bots for sale slipped and reused a MySpace handle tied to his real-world DJ gig flyer. Undercover agents ordered a 50,000 bot flood, wired $600, and captured the handshake PCAPs. November 2005, agents raided the Downey house, seizing a custom water-cooled desktop, $58,000 cash, and a BMW he had purchased in Botcoin. He pleaded guilty to 4 counts: conspiracy, transmission of code to damage, fraud in connection with electronic mail, and money laundering. Sentence: 57 months, the first U.S. prison term for building and leasing a botnet. Industry impact: ISPs began counting outbound port 25 bursts as infection indicators and throttling suspicious ranges, an anti-spam tactic known as walled garden quarantine. Cisco's early network admission control (NAC) white papers cite Anchetta's case as motivation. 3 Vladimir Levin's modem bank heist, St. Petersburg, New York, June-August 1994. Context: pre-browser online banking. Citibank's cash manager service let corporate customers move funds via dial-up X25 at 2400 baud. Authentication hinged on account numbers plus PINs, no time-based token, no caller ID lock. Reconnaissance from a cold basement. Vladimir Levin, 29-year-old biochemistry graduate, worked for AO Saturn, a Russian software outfit with just enough Western connectivity to sponsor London trade trips. In late 1993, he bought hundreds of small business cash manager logins from hacker boards. Many banks used default PINs, 2012-019259, pending first login change. Exploit execution. From a private flat in St. Petersburg, he war-dialed Citibank's New York POP, replayed authentication strings, then verified line noise with manual commands to test whether a session was corporate or admin. Over 2 months, he shifted US $10.7 million into front accounts in Tel Aviv, Rotterdam, San Francisco, and Buenos Aires. Mules attempted cash withdrawals. Citibank's anti-launder desk flagged velocity anomalies, freezing $7.8 million mid-transit. International cat and mouse Interpol tracked ATM surveillance photos to 4 Latvian accomplices. Flip phones revealed Levin's voice on callback numbers. July 1995, Heathrow police arrested him during a Narita-bound layover after France denied extradition. He eventually pled to 1 count of bank fraud, got 36 months, repaid $240,000. Citibank silently repaid all losses and deployed secure ID tokens for every cash manager client ahead of schedule. Why it still matters. Levin proved crude credential replay could breach air-gapped modems. NIST's 1996 guidance on multi-factor dial-in authentication quotes the case. Many Eastern Bloc coders inspired formed the nucleus of 2000's carding groups. 4. The Port of Antwerp container caper. Belgium, June 2011. February 2013, anatomy of a modern port. Antwerp processes 7 million containers a year. Every box carries a digital pickup code generated by the shipping line's TOS terminal operating system. Truckers present code plus ID. The gate spits out location and releases the container. Infiltration by drug traffickers. Dutch gangs Nord and the Mokro Mafia planned to lift multi-ton cocaine loads hidden in legitimate fruit shipments. First, they phished port logistics clerks. Doctored DHL invoices led to a Zeus variant that scraped credentials. When passwords changed, they escalated. Hardware implants. Night shift insiders broke into forwarder offices and plugged key grabber nano devices, tiny PS2 pass-through sniffers with 2 MB flash between keyboard and tower. Each morning, a courier retrieved keystroke logs via Bluetooth drive-by. Automated reconnaissance. With root RDP, hackers read the X-terminal database, container numbers, pickup dates, ISO seals. They scripted alerts so encrypted SMS pinged as soon as a drug-stuffed box cleared scanners. Bogus trucking firms drove into the yard minutes later, typed the perfect code, and vanished with contraband. Detection and takedown. It unraveled when customs noticed an uptick in wrong trucking companies claiming high-risk refrigerated containers. A surprise gate audit found 2 separate drivers presenting identical pickup pins, a statistical impossibility. CCTV tracebacks revealed van drivers entering forwarder offices at O2 with screwdrivers. July 2013, Belgian police, aided by Europol, raided 30 sites, seized AK-47s, radio jammers, and a stash of keyloggers. Indictments rocked the port's faith in plain-text PIN. Within a year, Antwerp, Rotterdam, and Hamburg migrated to EDI-backed two-factor codes, 8-digit token plus QR, refreshable every 4 hours. 5. Project Blackstar, the Ghost Shell dump internet-wide, September-December 2012. Who was Team Ghost Shell? A floating crew of 4 to 6 gray hats handles dead Melox Thyana M. Man, who claimed allegiance to no nation, only digital Darwinism. Tools: Havage SQLi, Apache Bench, self-coded Python fuzzers. The Spree Phase 1, September, breached 100-plus U.S. universities, leaking 120,000 student accounts under banner Project West Wind, citing tuition protests. Phase 2, October, hit NASA's Dryden Test Range. ESA aerosol research, JAXA academic mirrors data dump named Project White Fox. Phase 3, November, Blend dubbed Project Blackstar. They dropped 1.6 million records, bank SWIFT tables from Bangladesh, a Kentucky court docket, Chinese nuclear reactor worker lists, login pairs from the Jordanian Stock Exchange. Each leak arrived with nihilist manifestos. We prove guards sleep. Technical signature Ghost Shell exploited blind SQL injection on overlooked Cold Fusion admin panels and dumped entire MySQL DBs via into-out file to webroot. They sprinkled ROT13 comments as calling cards and scoured defaced sites from Google within 48 hours to confound attribution. Vanishing Act. In December, a final paste announced retirement. We have shown the skeleton, others will pick its bones. No arrests followed, but later Black Hat conferences circulated a rumor. 2 members were West Coast teens diverted to sealed juvenile rehab contracts. Unverified, it suited their legend. Security firms quietly patched Cold Fusion 8 servers for years, citing Ghost Shell class exploits. 6. Carbonac Cobalt, the automated ADM heists. Russia Global. 2013 to 2018, the criminal DevOps cycle Carbonac, later Cobalt, maintained a disciplined pipeline. Initial spearfish, HR departments received .dex resumes weaponized with CVE 2012-0158 OL32 Stack Overflow. Beachhead, once macros popped, Carburp-style loader injected Carbonac.dll into Explorer.exe, launched HTTPs C2 at random Eastern European hosting. Lateral movement, PS exec with dumped SAM hashes, RDP pivots to domain controllers and CCTV DVRs. Recon, attackers watched teller workflow via DVR, timing cassette refills. Payload, DISP cache module enumerated WinCore Nixdorf XFS API or NCR's equivalent, scheduling a logical cache out at 02 local. Field operations mules, often students from Kyrgyzstan, stood by machines. At the set second, the ATM sang its startup beep and fired 40 banknotes per second straight into plastic bags. Mules left. Command channel issued secure erase on local HDDs. Damage scope, Kaspersky and Group IB estimate $1.1 billion siphoned across 40 countries. One Kazakhstan bank lost $7 million in one holiday weekend. Interpol circulars helped Spanish Guardia Civil track ringleader Denis K. to a villa in Alicante in March 2018. Raids netted 160,000 cash, jewelry stuffed in Adidas shoeboxes, and a ledger mapping money mule cells by Airport Hub. 7 stolen Navy satellite minutes. The Amazon Rogue Telecom Brazil 2007 to 2014. The satellite in question, FLT SATCOM 8, launched 1989, once relayed encrypted U.S. Navy traffic across South America. By the 2000s, it orbited in near drift, transponders still active but unmonitored. How pirates found bandwidth. Amazonian gold smugglers coveted voice comms immune to cell intercept. Radio hobbyist Jorginho cracked the SATCOM BPSK format with a spectrum analyzer and discovered unused 25 kHz slots. He uploaded a how-to PDF to Orkut in 2007. Soon Motorola Sabre HT1000 handsets flashed with Brazil SAT hack firmware appeared in Belém street markets, price $200. Network scale. Federal police scans of L-band downlinks found 580 unique rogue user IDs between Manaus and the Guyanese border. Transmissions ranged from weather chat to cocaine drop coordinates. Enforcement nightmare. Raids seized radios, but suspects melted into the jungle. Felsatcom's control segment had been decommissioned. Disabling L-band required NORAD orbital commands no agency wanted to fund. The pirates continued until 2014 when the Navy finally retired FL-SATCOM and deorbited the bird. 8. The Janitor Counter-Hack, Middle East APT, Unknown Vigilante. July-September 2015. Original breach: a petroleum SCADA vendor in Norway sold historians to Gulf refineries. Iranian threat group AP-33 spearphished a senior engineer, pivoted through VPN to refinery OPC servers, filched compressor diagrams and drilling mud recipes. IP valued at €50 million. The mysterious reversal. 6 weeks later, refinery CISOs received PGP encrypted emails from throwaway Proton addresses containing exact datasets the Iranians had stolen. Complete, checksum verified, timestamped just hours earlier. Accompanying note: audit your perimeter. Assume future diligence. Regards, Janitor. Forensic breadcrumbs. Logs showed the APT's C2 Linux VPSs had executed a 300-line bash script named Janitor Score Push, a fork bomb followed by SCP that exfiltrated the loot back to victims, then shredded ENCFS vaults. The script's header claimed SHA-1 authorship by /dev null. Theories: Israeli Unit 8200 doing deniable cyber cleanup, internal Iranian faction sabotaging its own hardliners, independent white hat with access to APT-33 panel leaks. No public attribution surfaced. Refineries patched VPN gateways, installed data diode backups, and privately thanked the Phantom. Why these cases deserve the spotlight? They forecast mainstream threats. Bowden's sewage attack prefigured Stuxnet-style ICS hacks. Carbonac pioneered DevOps economics, later copied by ransomware-as-a-service shops. They expose non-obvious attack surfaces: maritime container PIN codes, decommissioned military satellites, forgotten dial-up bank pop lines. They underline the human drama: spiteful ex-contractors, entrepreneurial teens, narco-logisticians who learned SQL. In cybersecurity, the loudest exploits monopolize headlines, yet defense posture improves only when we examine quieter sagas, the ones that never trended on Twitter but quietly rewired an industry's assumptions. Keep these 8 cases in your mental toolkit. Next zero day you encounter may rhyme with an old, half-buried precedent.